Hello friends, my name is Masood. Today we shall discuss about topic the release burn up chart. Friend, today's topic is very interesting, especially if you have interest in project management, Scrum framework and software development. So let's just start, friend. First of all, we have to understand that what is a burn up chart actually. Friend, a burn up chart is basically a visual representation which we used in Scrum framework to track the progress of a project. Now, what is a Scrum framework? Scrum framework is basically agile based approach for project management of software development projects, in which basically we divide the work into multiple chunks, and with each chunk we deliver the work to the customer. That chunk is called the sprint, and a sprint is a 3 to 4 week time period in which we plan, develop, test and deploy the things, and at the end of the each sprint we have a product increment. Now, why we use burn up chart actually? Basically, friend, burn up chart is basically the visual representation for the team that how much work has been completed versus how much work was initially planned for a release means that, for example, there were 40 tasks in the project, for example, and we have taken 10 tasks that in that particular sprint we will complete that 10 tasks. Okay, so that is means the target release should contain the 10 tasks which were planned. Okay, now the burn up chart shows you that how much work was initially planned and how much work is actually completed. Okay, so that means it is a comparison, it is basically a true picture that how the things are going on, and also the Scrum development team, stakeholders, product owner, to understand if the project is on track to meet its goals and objectives or not. So if it's going on as per the track, so that means it's okay, and if it is not going as per the required speed or track, so obviously we need some modifications and changes. So first thing is the x and y axis. Friend, on basically it's a chart. So on the x-axis, or you can say the horizontal axis, basically it represents the time usually in the sprints or iterations. We know that a sprint is a 3 to 4 week time period in a Scrum framework, which is basically time for plan, development, testing and deployment. Then y-axis, that means the vertical axis, it represents the amount of work completed usually in story points or other relevant units. Story points is basically the estimated effort to complete a story is basically a required feature set for a product. Okay, normally a user requirement, for example, customer can do the payment, customer can sign up. So this is a user story, and story point is the estimated effort required to complete the story. Then ideal trend line, this is the chart representing, which includes ideal line, and that shows the expected progress based on the team's velocity. The velocity is basically the average amount of work completed per sprint. So basically, velocity is basically that concept that how much work the Scrum development team normally on average complete in a sprint. Okay, basically story points means that like, for example, if there are 3 stories and each story is containing 5 points, so and we completed these 3 stories containing each 5 points, so that means the 15 is the velocity of the Scrum team, which is basically, you can say, the average average story points we complete in a sprint. Then a scope or initial commitment line, that means a line is drawn to represent the total amount of work initially committed to for the release. This may be estimated in story points, user stories, on another unit of measure. Okay, then actual work completed, that means the chart displays the bars or points indicating the actual amount of work completed at the end of each sprint or iteration. This is derived from the team's definition of done. So basically we have to understand the definition of done here as well. Basically friend, whenever we are starting or initiating a sprint, definition of done must have to be defined. Definition of done concept here is that the criteria at which we will say we will accept that the work has been completed. Obviously this definition of done should be derived from the customer and from the business point of view. That means the criteria at which we will say we will accept that work has been completed, and we can complete the task and the deliverable as completed as finished actually. So this is basically the criteria of done actually. Updating the chart means the release burn up chart is typically updated at the end of the each sprint or iteration, and the team adds the completed work to the chart, providing a snapshot of the progress. So basically normally this chart is updating by the Scrum development team at the end of the sprint or during the sprint as well, so that everyone has the clarity or snapshot of the progress here as well. Then incorporating changes, that means if there are any changes in the scope during the release, such as any addition of or removal of a feature. Normally what happened that during the sprint review meeting or after the sprint review meeting, few features are added or removed from the product, from the backlog items. So in that case there may be some changes, and those changes should be reflected in the release burn up chart as well. Then interpretation means that the chart allows stakeholders to see if the team is on track to complete the planned work by the end of the release. If the actual work completed is consistently below the ideal trend line, it may indicate that the team is falling behind. In that case, we have to understand that what is the reason the team is falling behind, and we have to take the corrective action in that case as well, so that in the upcoming sprint we can adjust the things and we can incorporate the changes as well. Forecasting means that the release burn up chart is also useful for forecasting. It helps in estimating how much more work can be completed by the end of the release based on the team's historical velocity as well. Again, velocity means the story points on an average completed by the Scrum development team as well. Then communication and transparency. That means the chart is valuable communication tool between the development team and stakeholders. It provides a transparent and easily understandable visual representation of progress. So again, this is a very good tool for communication and transparency as well. Then continuous improvement means the team can use the insights gained from the chart of burn up to make adjustments, improve processes, or address impediments to enhance their overall performance. So, friend, in summary, the release burn up chart is a powerful tool in Scrum for tracking and communicating the progress of a project, helping teams and stakeholders make informed decisions about throughout the development process.